Welcome back to Distorted Opinions. I'm here with Keisha. I'm Kayla, if you're new to the show. And the two of us, I mean, we tried this the last show. We kind of came into it, the last one that the two of us did together. We didn't have a topic pick. We just kind of talked music. And then by the time we were done, we did have a topic or two, but we didn't come into it with those topics. And the two of us have been sitting here for going on 45 minutes now, just talking about music in general, and not necessarily things that would probably be of total interest to our audience, because it's a lot of behind the scenes planning stuff for Distorted Opinions and whatnot. But it reached a point where we were like, okay,
let's just start
we should just start this show here, because we've basically done an entire show at this point that we've been sitting here, and I'm sure Keisha has other things to do, and I've certainly got some other things to do today.
For context, the only thing that I really have on my agenda is like the after church eats, because I just got done like watching church service, and like apparently during this entire time, like nothing has stopped the customary I gotta eat after church. Like that's like a thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like that's a real thing. Even though like church services now have been shorter, they've come down, thank Jesus, because streaming times and just wanting to keep people's attention a little bit shorter. If anybody has experienced a Baptist church, it can be 1 hour, or it can be 5 hours, it can be 10 hours. You don't know. You get you just let the Holy Ghost move you, and you keep going. But so service has been pretty punctual, but they've been ending around lunchtime. And I was like, oh, I'm not gonna like go out and get started and like, have my like Sunday dinner start at like lunchtime. But usually there's a meal afterwards. So I've been postponing that. So it's fine. It's totally fine, because like I have like I've trained, because I've been to church so many times on Sundays where it's like, listen, I can go 5 hours, okay, before I'm like, let's eat. So,
I mean, I feel kind of bad that we're taking you away from a big meal here. With
I've trained my whole life for this moment.
Done this later.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Like it's fine. Do you know how many songs are happening in a church service? Okay, Baptist church service. Like they're not your typical. Well, some of them can be. Some of them can be like like minute and a half, 2 minutes. But if you go to some churches, we don't elongate the song as much as I've been to other churches. There's one that I will remain nameless in this location, but it will take like a 3-minute song and make it like a 15-minute song.
Oh, wow.
Like
the Grateful Dead of church choirs. Just keeps going. Dave Matthews, the Grateful Dead, the Fish, any of those jam bands.
Oh, Dave Matthews. Lord. My little brother
never thought. What's that?
My little brother had like a Dave Matthews moment. Like he wanted to listen to, weird. He wanted to listen to like Dave Matthews like on repeat. I think it's because they did, this is a long time ago, they did part of the soundtrack to the movie Tarzan.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I had to listen to a lot of Dave Matthews.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I go through phases of I'll listen to Dave Matthews in bursts, and Sirius XM actually has a Dave Matthews station.
I want to look this up because I don't want to be wrong. I don't want
I'm curious. I mean, I think anybody who's been following this show for a while knows full well at this point that I am not a movie expert, so I really can't chime in on whether or not it is Dave Matthews. So I'll let you look that up and tell me.
Okay, so I take that back. I will flesh this out. So yes, my little brother had a thing with Dave. Like he had a thing with Dave Matthews, but it wasn't Dave Matthews that did the soundtrack to Tarzan. Phil Collins did some of the music to Tarzan.
Oh,
the reason why he had a thing for Dave Matthews because my dad was playing Dave Matthews, and my little brother wanted to learn how to play the drums. Bam. Okay.
Hey,
quick fix.
Carter Buford is an amazing drummer. I've said it before. I'm not a drumming expert. Ted would be our go-to guy on that, but that guy, incredible drummer.
Man.
I go through the phases of listening to Dave Matthews, and then I'll go to something else, and then eventually I'll come back and I'll listen to quite a bit of Dave Matthews again. And I have never seen Dave Matthews live, and I've always wanted to go. I actually was supposed to go in 2005 and wasn't able to make it for personal reasons, but I've just never gotten tickets to see him since, and I think he actually just played, I think this past Friday. So at the point that we're recording this, yeah, I think he was just in Mansfield on Friday, or I know he's played at Fenway a couple times. I don't think it was a Fenway show. I'm pretty sure it was in Mansfield. But yeah, I've never seen him live, and I've seen videos of his concerts, and I feel like, you know, fun. Again, I know there's the people, you either love them or you hate them. There
yeah, no kidding. Like it really is like there's no middle ground for people when it comes to Dave Matthews fan.
Right. And I don't know what it is about that band that people feel that way about it, but you know, I feel like you have to be a certain type of person to want to go to one of his concerts. You have to be a pretty big fan, because I think a lot of their songs turn into those jam session type deals. And
but that's what's cool.
I like that.
Yeah, that's like me. That's because music magic is happening at those shows, and you can't really, you know, you just can't make that stuff up. That's why, and there's so much for Dave Matthews. There's so much musical representation in his shows. I think that's what is so awesome. But yeah, I'm sure Ted would have his thoughts on just a lot of that. But yeah, my dad would play a lot of Dave Matthews Band, because my dad drummed for 40 plus years. And that was like, you know, Carter Buford was one of his inspirations to just continue to play. So that's really cool. Yeah. Wow.
He's a good drummer to aspire to play like. I will say, you know, he's a very phenomenal drummer. But I'll bet you probably never thought that you would hear a comparison to a gospel choir or of a gospel choir to Fish, Grateful Dead, Dave Matthews jam bands, but that's all I can kind of like.
But you know, music, you know, gospel is a genre of music. All right. So and what's cool is that I was thinking about how a lot of gospel songs always stem from like R&B and soul. You know what I mean? Like that is the main part is there's something that is there's something coming from within to be able to some of these arrangements are not easy in gospel world, and some of them cross genres without people, if you're not familiar, you don't really know what's happening. So I think that's what's cool. So yeah, strange, but kind of the same. They're coming from a similar feeling or emotion.
Sure. Well, and speaking of kind of soul gospel feeling, so, you know, another topic that we started to talk about when we were chatting before the show, and I was like, we should probably put this on hold because I feel like I'm going to get into the show if I talk about this now. But I'll probably kind of tee it up with, we mentioned in a previous episode that we're going to be calling for local artists to submit if you've got a new song or a new album out. If you want to submit a song from the album to us, we would love to give it a listen and review it and talk about it on the show. And well, this was not officially submitted by a local artist, I think we're going to consider it a submission and maybe a first for this particular segment. But we've got so my neighbor Daryl just put out with this other guy Paul Davis, put out 2 songs that you can find on any streaming platform. And the interesting thing about Daryl, and where I say this kind of ties into the soul gospel feeling, is that I feel like a lot of people didn't know Daryl could sing until I want to say it was probably about 15 years ago now. I think we were in high school. A lot of us, our parents all, like, if we were all at something, like if we were all at homecoming or something, the parents would all go out to a local restaurant and get dinner. And apparently the parents had all gone to a local place called Chip Shots, which has karaoke pretty regularly.
That's my spot.
Daryl was there. And Daryl got up and sang, I don't know what song he sang. All I know is that apparently this was the first time that a lot of people in that group had heard Daryl sing and realized that he could sing. And now it seems like a lot of people are banging down Daryl's door to get him to sing in their bands. I was actually in a band with Daryl, and Ted's dad was in a band with Daryl. Matt's dad was in a band with Daryl and Ted's dad, as well as the band that I was in with Daryl. So there's been a lot of crossover with a lot of different bands with Daryl, and he really is, he's one of those vocalists. I was listening to these 2 tracks that they put out. My mouse fell asleep, but I'm trying to get Spotify to open. One of them is called Train Off the Track, and the other one is called Something Real. And I listened to Train Off the Track first, and my immediate thought was, there's something about Daryl's voice that has a very 60s sounding soulful feel to it. I feel like if I heard him, and it's probably why he's been a great vocalist to have in these that Ned and Rich and I have all been in with him, because he's doing a lot of 60s and 70s songs that kind of had that kind of feel in the original recordings. And I'm blown away. I'm blown away by the fact that he hasn't done a recording with somebody sooner that's been out. Right. But he comes over yesterday. So Ned and I went, Ted's dad, Ned is a longtime listener, follower of the show. So shout out to Ned, because I'm sure he's watching this. So Ned and I went on a driving tour yesterday with the New England Triumph Club, because I have a Spitfire that's been in the garage for years that my dad and I started to restore.
The Phoenix will rise again. It's gonna happen.
I'm seeing some light at the end of the tunnel. Let's just put it that way. But so Ned had an open seat, because Ted's mom couldn't make it. She had things going on. So he offered to let me tag along to meet some people in the club who might be able to help me put the car back together. It was an all-day thing. So Ned was dropping me off, and we're standing in the driveway, and Daryl kind of wanders over, and he's like, I thought it was you, but I wasn't sure. And then I saw the British sports car, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's Ned. And so we got to talking about reminiscing all kinds of stories about gigs that we had played. And I've talked about a couple of the stories, like we played this gig at a place called the Chop Shop up in Seabrook, New Hampshire, with Next Town Over, which was another band, or it was the band that Rich and Daryl and myself were in with some other people. And and it was one of those deals where it was a biker bar. And the whole time I'm thinking to myself, why are we here? I'm not really sure that the music we play really fits in with the vibe of this place. But I mean, the manager said to us after, he was like, you guys were good, and don't take this the wrong way, but we're probably not going to have you back again, because you don't really play the type of music that we typically play here. But apparently one guy there really enjoyed it, because they had a stripper pole on the dance floor. And about midnight, this middle-aged biker dude in the full leathers is dancing around on the pole. Now, Daryl's up at the front of the stage.
But what was Daryl singing?
I wish I could remember. I really wish. I want to say it might have been Rolling Stones.
Okay.
We used to do oh my God, what the heck was the name of that song? I'm gonna have to look it up. But there was a Rolling Stones song, very kind of disco-y, that, and I'm not even sure, it may not have been what we were playing, but it's just the first song that comes to mind. Oh my God, what? It's not even in any of the top top Rolling Stones songs here. I feel like I'd know it if I saw it. I can hear it in my head, but I don't know what it is. Anyway, it'll probably come to me at a later point. But so Daryl's at the front of the stage. This pole is right in front of the stage, like right in front of Daryl. And I see this guy out of the corner of my eye. And I look over at Rich, Matt's dad, who's also playing guitar. And I see the look on Rich's face, because he's watching the guy. And I can't look at either one of them, because I know if I look at either of them, I'm going to start laughing.
Break.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'm trying to look anywhere but at Rich, at Daryl, or at the dude on the stripper pole, because I know I'm going to lose it if I look at either one of them. So we managed to make it through that. And then afterwards we had a good laugh, and Daryl, so we're talking about this yesterday, and Daryl goes, I am going to have that image burned in my mind for the rest of my life. he's like, it's there. It's just there. It's burned in.
Right in front.
He's like, that guy was right in front of me, and it looked like that pole was about to break in half. He was like, I'm watching and I'm thinking, boy, this is not going to end well. And I think it's funny that it's been almost 10 years and that's still like the big memory. But we were going down memory lane with a whole bunch of stories. Ned had some really funny stories from a gig they played in Haverhill. And I don't know whether or not I should share it because it's not really my story to share.
Okay, yeah, wait.
But it
make it.
It was a really funny story. I was like, I think that might top the story about the dude on the stripper pole. But
that brings up a good point though about like the power of Daryl's voice, because like I don't think people, and hopefully you guys get to hear, all the listeners get to hear, you know, the smooth hammer tones that come out of his vocal cords, because like Daryl's voice it brings you to like 60s, 70s. A lot of people, our parents would argue that was when music was music. And I think for some of us, you can't deny it when you hear someone sing like that. You're just like, oh, we don't get blessed to hear some of this anymore as often as we like. So it's so nice because like Daryl singing will, one, get you to the dance floor, to the strip pole apparently. And then if you're not careful, don't ask him to sing certain songs because like people, we talk about like the population is going down. Of like, you listen to Daryl's music with the right person, you better stop. Okay, because Daryl got that voice.
Yeah. I agree 100%. And I think, I'm not positive, but I think he does sing in his church's choir. So
he's
definitely got that gospel voice.
It wouldn't surprise me. I bet like anyone, he would just walk in and sing like a couple of songs, like 2 notes, and people like, yep, okay, wherever you want to sit. It's not like I remember when I had to audition. You just don't, in some churches, you just don't get to like up and sing in the church choir. It's like, it's a department. And you will prove that you can carry a tune.
Right. Well, and it's funny too, because one of the stories he was telling, I feel like maybe I can tell this one, because I think I was at that show, but they played a gig in a band. So Ned, Rich, and Daryl were in a band called 8 Amp Fuse. And 8 Amp Fuse played, and you may have been at this too. They played Kelly's, I think was the name of the place in Billerica. And at the time, it was a 21 plus show, but my parents managed to convince them to let me in. And I thought you were with me, but maybe not.
It's foggy. It's there. There's something.
Uh-oh. I think we might have just lost Keisha. Maybe momentarily. We'll see if she comes back.
Yeah.
Oh, are you back?
Here I am. Okay.
Okay.
I was like,
you froze for a minute. It happens. We've had Ted freeze. I'm pretty sure I've frozen. I mean, the scariest is if everybody tells me I've frozen because I record all the shows. So I'm like, oh boy, did something happen to the recording? And I have no way to know until we're done the show if there was a problem. So I unfortunately not had to go recreate an episode. Thank God. But yeah, so they played this venue. I think it was called Kelly's, but I can't honestly remember, in Billerica. I don't think it's there anymore, whatever the venue was. And apparently somebody yelled out, "Play La Bamba." And they didn't have La Bamba on their set list, but apparently Ned was able to kind of figure it out enough that he started to play it, and then other people in the band started to play it, and then Daryl was like, oh crap, well I guess we're locked into this now. But Daryl didn't know the lyrics, and other than la 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 bamba, there's a lot more to it than that, and it's in Spanish, so you can't really wing it if you don't know the lyrics. But he's like, I'm up there just kind of like, I'm rambling
That's when you
gibberish.
Just do like the main part and then segue into another song. Like,
well, apparently they did the whole song and he just like mumbled the other, and nobody paid attention they were all just having, I said, Daryl, in all honesty, at a certain point in the show, most of the people there are probably 3 sheets to the wind, and they're not paying attention to whether or not you have the correct lyrics or not. They just hear the song and they're up there having a good time. So, but he was, I guess he turned to the rest of the band after and he was like, I guess we better learn La Bamba for next time. So, I mean, definitely a very versatile singer. But these 2 songs that he just put out, and he jokes, he says to Ned and I as he's getting ready to walk away to go back to his house, he's like, yeah, so we just put out, you know, an album. He's in quotes, like it's not, and I'm like, well, you got a couple of songs on streaming services. That's, you know, that's a release. It may not be an album in the traditional sense, but it's a release. So he was like, yeah, just, you know, search for my name and you'll find them on any of the streaming platforms. So I, you know, pulled up Spotify later that evening and listened to these. And I mean, Daryl's vocals are phenomenal. Obviously, you know, I've known him for a long time too, so I'm not gonna have anything bad to say about him. But the songs in general,
if somebody
also,
does, like, bump them, like,
yeah,
you can't.
Nobody's gonna have anything bad to say about him.
The man has a real gift. Like, think like maybe like he has like a deeper. He gives me like Isaac Hayes kind of. Isaac Hayes.
Yes.
That's the type of voice that he has. It's like, but it's deeper. Of course, there's nuances. It's not like obviously Isaac Hayes, but it feels like that to me.
Al Green.
Yeah.
I would say he's definitely got a very Al Green sound, which is probably why whenever we did Let's Stay Together, it was a pretty spot on cover of the song. It was good. But, you know, in general, both of these songs, the rest of the instrumentation on them is also really excellent. And it sounds very blues soul to me. And I thought they were both really great songs. I enjoyed listening to them. I think they're going to make it onto my, my regular rotation on my playlist.
Nice.
And I'll be listening to these for a while, but I was just really excited to see that Daryl did a collaboration with somebody and had some songs out
and he's
online.
He's singing now, like he's doing shows, Daryl?
Yeah, so Daryl's he's been in a band for a while now. I want to say it's probably been maybe close to 10 years because I think he was in this group when I was in the other band with him, but he's in a group called Daryl and the Darylex.
This is a great name. What a name.
Yeah. They are actually gigging again.
Nice.
I don't know where I don't think they have a ton of gigs happening just yet. And my understanding is the gig scene right now is really kind of tough. So Ned and I were actually talking yesterday because Ned does these acoustic guitar groups in Clinton monthly, and they bring in, I guess, a local acoustic guitar player, local musician, and that person performs for about an hour, and then they do a Q&A session, and the artist talks about their gear and gigs and all kinds of things music related. And Ned was like, you know, might be a good place to make some connections with some musicians that might be able to be guests on the show. So maybe we'll start getting a few musicians on here in future episodes. But one of the things, I guess, their last, or actually it wasn't there. It was actually Ned said he was at Hollis Hills Farm, and they had a guitarist, an acoustic guitarist that was playing there, and he gave Ned his business card, and he's a local guy, obviously. And he was telling Ned that gigs right now are really tough because a lot of venues where you would have originally been paid some amount of money to play a gig, now they're either not paying you or they expect you to pay for the door.
Yeah.
And that's really a challenge if you're a gigging musician who makes your living off of playing gigs and getting paid for it. That's a really tough scene to try and make a go at it. So I don't know, you know, I think in this band that Daryl's in, Daryl and the Darylex, you know, obviously that's not Daryl's full-time gig. I'm assuming it's not the case for the rest of the people in the band either, but
it's about coordinating schedules.
Yeah, typically you'd get paid something like, you know, a good gig for us when I was in a band was actually the Chop Shop up in Seabrook. It was one of the best playing gigs we played. And I, going into it, didn't know whether we were going to get paid or how much we were going to get paid if we did. And I think because I was talking to Daryl about this yesterday, and he seems to remember that we each got $100, and there were, I think, 7 or 8 of us in the band.
I was
so,
like, wow.
It was a pretty decent paying gig. And Ned was actually saying the same thing happened. The last show that 8 Amp Fuse played together was at a place called the Billiards in Air, or the Billiard Club. And Calvin Moore, who owns that place, at the end of the gig was like, wait a minute, there's 7 of you. They were supposed to get paid $500. And he was like, there's 7 of you. And Ned was like, well, we just split it however we need to split it. And he goes, no, hang on a second. He went out back and he got another 200, it was 7 or 8 people. So another $200 or $300. So that everybody got $100 for playing the gig. So basically Ned said they got a $200 or $300 tip for playing that gig, which I think is kind of unusual in situations like that. Most of the other gigs we played, if we got paid, by the time we divvied it up with that many people in the band, you were lucky if you got $25 a person, which covered your gas money maybe to get there. Yeah. So I would not want to be a gigging musician in full-time. The current climate. Trying to make a living off of that, because it sounds like it's a really tough place to be. And so, Daryl and the Daryl X, they're playing a few gigs. Daryl actually said he ended up backing out of, they had one that was on the Cape a couple of weeks ago, and the Cape has had
we've had some problems.
Uptick. Yeah.
we've had some concerns.
Right. So Daryl was like, I'm not going to be able to play this gig. And they were able to, I guess, find somebody else to fill in. But I can keep an eye on when they have some gigs coming up, and maybe post on our social media to put it out there if anybody wants to go see them live.
If Daryl can just have a little concert on the cul-de-sac, that'd be great. Like, we can all be outside.
Concerts on the cul-de-sac.
Listen, oh my gosh, this just happened.
Concerts on the Common brought to a whole new level.
Oh
That's
my gosh,
funny.
I think this is a thing now.
I will suggest that. However, you've been in this neighborhood. I think, I don't know. Maybe the issue
if it's coordinated. If it's coordinated, I think that, no, because wait a minute, we were over there some time ago, and you had a group of neighbors to a side that they were out. Okay, up until, because we were talking outside.
Oh yeah, that's right.
2 a.m. Yeah, see, they're down.
They won't complain.
They won't complain, but we can just get the whole street involved. Listen, if it's for a good cause, let's just tack on a great nonprofit. Anything to get Daryl outside singing will solve all problems. I don't think you'll have a single person complaining about Daryl's voice.
Honestly, I feel like part of the past complaints with the noise coming from my house is that it's a combination. It's twofold. It's that people had a beef with, the family, I guess. And potentially people just didn't like the type of music that was being played over here. If you've been listening to this show for a while, I think you get a pretty good idea of the musical tastes amongst Matt and Ted and myself. And that's the kind of stuff that would be coming out of the amps in the driveway here. And so I can see where
the concern would be.
Yeah. So, but with Daryl, their music tends to be the band he plays in. It tends to be more like 60s, 70s, maybe some 80s and 90s.
No one's going to be upset.
No, I don't think you'll get complaints.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Next time I see him outside, I will run this idea by him, because I don't know if he sees these shows. I know actually when I was out talking to him yesterday, he didn't realize that we had this podcast going on, and I was like, oh yeah, we've been doing it a little over a year now. So he may or may not check it out, and he may or may not see this episode, but I will, the next time I see him, I will let him know that Keisha is suggesting that we start a new series called Concerts on the Cul-de-Sac, and we get Daryl and the Daryl X to perform as the inaugural group to do this Concerts on the Cul-de-Sac series, and they could be potentially the only group that plays the Concerts on the Cul-de-Sac,
right.
but we'll see.
Right, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I'll bring it up with them, but I do know they're playing some gigs. Unfortunately, I feel like Daryl's also just not good about promoting his own gigs, because I've had times where he calls the afternoon of a gig and says, "Hey, I've got this gig happening at such and such a place," and his wife suggested that he might want to call us and let us know, and I'm like, normally I'd have been all over that, but unfortunately I have something going on tonight. But let me know when the next one is. Right. And inevitably, he usually doesn't tell us until the day of the next time a gig rolls around. So, yeah, he's got to be a little better about giving us a heads up on things. But yeah, I don't think they have a long list of gigs happening right now. But I'll try to get info on when they have more happening. And like I said, we can probably post something on our social media, letting people know where they can go check out Daryl and the Darylex if they would like to go see Daryl perform live. Oh, Alexa has some thoughts on that apparently. I don't know why she chimed in on that.
Because that's the power of Daryl's voice.
I guess so. I mean, I actually probably could tell her to play this song and she'd either pull up a completely wrong song or she'd actually play it and you'd be able to hear it here. But yeah, just go to your favorite streaming platform and search for Daryl Butler, and you're going to want to listen to either Train Off the Track and or Something Real, which is the second song that they put out. Good stuff. So yeah, I'd say that's our first music review segment that we don't officially have a name for. Local music review. Yeah. Not officially submitted, but we're submitting it on behalf of the artist because it's a local guy and we feel that people need to give this a listen. It's good stuff.
You are welcome.
So yeah, now that we've gotten through that, so something totally unrelated that I was reading the other night. So I follow a couple of different music, I don't know if you'd call them podcasts or like online vloggers or what, but a couple different music people that do that sort of thing. And there's this guy, Rick Beato, Beato. He's a musician and a music producer. And I probably mentioned him on a couple of episodes, but he does a lot of like what makes this song great. And he'll dissect a particular song and he'll spend a good half hour or so dissecting the song, getting into all the nitty gritty. He did one, I need to look it up because Beato. Okay. He did one recently where, was it Dizzy Gillespie? Hang on, I'm going to look it up. I should have probably looked this up ahead of time, but we're kind of winging it here.
Okay, all right. I see what he's got.
He's got, I mean, I was like, where's that coming from? I've got apparently his intro, his trailer video on his channel started playing. So he's got like top 20 countdowns where he does stuff like top 20 greatest acoustic intros of all time, top 20 greatest guitar solos, drum intros. The guy plays a lot of different instruments too. So one of the things I really like about his videos is that he doesn't just talk about the music, but he actually dissects it and he'll play a part of it and he'll get into the technical aspect of the music. Nice. So I feel like even if you're not a musician, you would find these interesting, but from a perspective of somebody who is a musician, I think you probably enjoy them even more because he gets into the nitty gritty of all these different things. But yikes. I'm not even sure how I would find his recent video because he's got so many videos here, but I'm pretty sure it was Dizzy Gillespie that he did a review. The greatest solo of all time.
Yeah, I'm just looking at some of these headers and I'm like, that's literally the one that came up. The greatest solo of all time from July.
Yeah. So this is Oscar Peterson. I don't know why I thought it was Dizzy Gillespie. It's a jazz musician. Hang on. He doesn't have it in the description. So now I have to go back and like go through the video to.
Come on, Rick.
I think this is the video. Yeah. I believe it's Oscar Peterson. And he's playing, it's a live show, and he's playing piano, and he's got a guitarist and a bass player. And Rick sitting at a piano in this video, and he dissects like, this is what he just did with his left hand. And he talks about like that, how hard it is to do what he did with his left hand. And then he's like, and then watch this part where the bass player and the guitarist look at each other, and you can see that moment where they're like, man, this is good. And then the guitar solo comes in. So now he switches, he picks up a guitar and he starts dissecting the different chords that the guitar player is playing. And he's like, look at how hard, like that's hard for me to play that chord that he's playing right now. And then the bass player comes in, and he spends, this particular video is about 17.5 minutes long. And he spends the whole video dissecting this, and he talks about what an influence this solo was on him, and how he feels it's one of the greatest guitar solos of all time. And so I really enjoy Rick's videos because he really gets into the nitty gritty. But one of the things that I saw recently was, I want to say it was a Van Halen song that he was dissecting, and it might've been an older video that just came up in the recommended videos after I watched this. And something I did not know, and I thought this was really interesting, is that Eddie Van Halen never tuned his guitar before he recorded a song.
Shut up. Don't tell me that. Don't tell me that.
Yeah. He just played whatever tune, like whatever the guitar was tuned to, which would explain why, if you were to try and play a Van Halen song with the recorded track, it's hard to actually play it and have it sound the same.
It never sounds exactly the same. I don't care who you are. It's impossible.
Right. Because he didn't tune his guitar.
This dude.
Actually, it wasn't Rick Biato who did that one. Now that I'm thinking about it, Rick, I think, does do another video where he dissects Running with the Devil. There is a video where he does that, and he may have mentioned it there, but I don't remember because I saw that one a long time ago. And now I'm feeling kind of unprepared because I don't remember.
You know, it's okay. I was mixing up Dave Matthews and Phil Collins, and now we got all this. It's what happens.
There was another musician. There's another guy who does videos kind of like that, where he breaks down songs, and he had broken down another Van Halen song, and he was the one. And if I remember who he is, I'll put text on the screen and put something in the description. But he's the one that made the comment that Eddie never tuned his guitar.
That's crazy to me. That's crazy.
And it was, I guess, just his philosophy that he didn't need a tuner. You just play whatever sounds right and sounds good. You just make
music. You just make music.
Right. But imagine for the rest of the band, like, because the whole thing this guy was doing was he was auto-tuning David Lee Roth's vocals on a couple of the tracks.
Okay.
And so the guy that did the video was talking about how it's a little bit weird because you auto-tune David Lee Roth's vocals, but with the way the rest of the music was recorded, because the rest of the band had to like do funky tunings to kind of match what Eddie was doing with his guitar. Auto-tuning the vocals makes it sound a little bit weird in some cases because it's not tuned to a specific key. It's just like, I can't even imagine if I bumped the tuners on my guitar and it went all out of tune, just being like, I'm just going to, I mean, I guess if you're writing the music and you're not trying to play something that's already written, I guess that's a different scenario, but I had no idea. That was total news to me when I saw the discussion that Eddie never tuned his guitar. I had no idea that was actually a thing. So I just thought I'd share that because
I think that's so great because, like, in a strange way, I think that's so powerful as an artist to just be like, you know, to have that level of comfort and control over your instrument, to be like, you know, there's such a synergy between, you know, whatever he's using to play and himself that what he's going to convey is going to come out no matter what he's using. Like that, right. I don't know. I think there's something so awesome about that, and also so incredibly frustrating to know. Like,
right.
Wow, dude. Wow.
Never, ever occurred to me. But wow. I also, for what it's worth, have never really learned to play a whole lot of Van Halen on guitar. So it's not like I've ever sat down, tried to play something and been like, why doesn't this sound quite right? Even though I've got my guitar in the tuning that the tab says that this song is in. But now I would have a bit of an understanding as to why. So definitely, even though that wasn't necessarily, I'd mixed up my YouTubers on that one. It wasn't necessarily Rick Biato. Definitely check out Rick Biato because he's got some very informative, well done videos that break down a lot of different aspects of music. And the guy is super talented and he definitely knows what he's talking about. And I can always appreciate somebody who puts a lot of time into, putting together a well-informed piece and to spend that kind of time dissecting one song or one specific part of songs. I can appreciate that. And I really enjoy that. So check them out if you haven't seen them. And I'll try to find, because I think I subscribed to the other guy that I was thinking of, and I just don't remember who it was. So I'll have to look it up, and I will put a link in the description. Oh, yeah. Bobby Huff. Okay. Bobby Huff. And his channel is called Music Surgery. And the dude actually opens everything up. He's wearing like a surgical mask and scrubs, and he's green screened himself into a surgical, an operation room. He's got some cool stuff too. So Bobby Huff, Huff. Okay. That's the guy I was thinking of. Or Dr. Bob, as I guess he calls himself.
Dr. Bob.
That's right. But yeah. Bobby Huff and Rick Biato, two people that if you're into music, you should definitely check them out on YouTube. Great videos.
Nice.
So yeah, I don't know if there was anything else in particular that came to mind to you that you wanted to talk about. If not, we can do our song of the week.
Yeah, sure. Let's get into it. I think we kind of started with yours, right?
I think so. Yeah. So, real quick, the usual reminder, we have a Spotify Song of the Week playlist. We'll put our picks for this week into that playlist. We've also got all of our picks from the previous shows in there. We put the link in the description to every episode. And if you're watching the video version of the show, we've also got a Spotify scan code. And all you have to do with that is open up Spotify on your phone or mobile device, click the camera icon in the search bar, and hold your device up to the screen. It'll scan the code and take you to the playlist. Again, it's getting more and more eclectic every week, and this week is no exception.
Yes.
Like Keisha said, we did talk a little bit about my Song of the Week pick already, so I don't think it's going to be a total surprise, but my pick this week is going to be Something Real by my neighbor Daryl Butler and Paul Davis.
So good.
It is very, very good. Like I said, these two tracks, they're very bluesy soul. There's definitely some very blues guitar to them. They're laid back, probably very different from a lot of the other picks that you've heard if you've been listening to this show for a while and you've listened to our playlist, where a lot of our stuff tends to be more heavy rock and metal. This is definitely at the opposite end of the spectrum, and Daryl's vocals on this are just phenomenal. He's got that very soulful gospel blues type voice, and I can pretty much guarantee that nobody who's watching or listening to this has heard this track at this point, unless you're me, Keisha, Daryl, and maybe Ned. So definitely give it a listen. We'll put it into the playlist, but if you search for Daryl Butler and look for Something Real or Train Off the Track, you'll find those. But Something Real is going to be my pick for this week.
Such a good pick. And I guess I'll stick around with the blues and the soul theme. One that happened recently, I'm going to go with Hold On by Her. And she did a duet with Chris Stapleton, who's phenomenal. And they did a duet of her song, and it has they got a vibe going when they do this duet. It feels great. The rhythm section is holding it down, but you can just tell when they perform this. I think it was for like Country Music Awards or something. You could tell like that whole room they were in the zone. It has so much soul to it, so much. You can't really like pin it down, but when you listen to it, if you don't know who her is, if you watched the Super Bowl last year, Super Bowl 55, she did America the Beautiful. And I think that's when a lot of people who don't know who she is got an introduction to who she is. She's been out here and she holds it down. Hold on, her. But look up the one with Chris Stapleton, because that mess is fire. It is amazing.
All right, awesome. I do remember seeing her perform at the Super Bowl. I did not put two and two together, so
yeah,
I will definitely have to check that out.
She changes up her appearance a lot. Somebody I read that like she's like if Prince and Alicia Keys had a baby. I thought that was like perfect.
Nice. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I'll check that track out because I haven't heard that one. Obviously, I will when I edit this together, because I'll have to go grab the song for the clip. But yeah, definitely. You will hear no complaints from me on a blues soul theme. I'm all about blues and soul. My musical tastes tend to be all over the place, which maybe isn't necessarily reflected all the time in this show, given what the vast majority of the conversation
what we just landed on.
Right.
Now you know.
Yeah, pretty much anything other than like, I don't know, country music I'm not big on.
Until you listen to this track, because it happened at the Country Music Awards. There's a lot of blues in country music. It's just, it's just hard sometimes, I think, to find a lot of the artists, a lot of the, I guess the really well-known artists that are performing right now. Mm-hmm. It's, if you're not listening to their tracks in an entirety to kind of cherry pick some of those things that are coming out, it's hard. Right. It's hard to get exposed to them.
Yeah, true. Yeah, no, I feel like most of the country I've heard, my mom's a big country fan. And so I've been hearing country for a long time. But I feel like these days, a lot of it is very kind of poppy.
Yeah, it is.
And it's not the same as the old like Chet Atkins type of country. I can maybe get into some of the older stuff, or like Johnny Cash, I feel falls into country.
Country and blues right there. Like
true.
That's a great example.
True. Yeah. But the newer stuff, I don't typically get into it.
Well, when you listen to this track, you let me know, because I think you're going to like it.
All right. I will definitely do that. You will hear from me, no doubt. So on that note, I think we can go ahead and wrap it here, but, lots of stuff to check out after today's episode. We'll put links to the YouTube channels I mentioned into the description. We'll put Daryl's track into the playlist. We'll put Keisha's track, Her, by Her, into the playlist as well. And we will be back next week. But don't forget, if you would like to be a guest on the show, or if you have a suggestion for future topic, or if you're a local musician who has a new song out and you would like to have us give it a listen and talk about it on the show, let us know. There's a few ways you can do that. You can leave us a voice message, by going to our Anchor page at anchor.fm/distortedopinions. While you're there, you can also find links to our social media platforms, as well as a partial list of the places the show is available in audio only format. You can also find us on YouTube. So if you want to watch the video version of the show, we always put the video version up on YouTube. And I'm not going to put the URL to that because it's a really long, ridiculous URL. But if you're over there, be sure to subscribe to our channel so that we can get to 100 subscribers and be able to get a nice short URL. And you can do that by searching for Distorted Opinions. You can also find us on your favorite podcast platform by searching for Distorted Opinions. You can also leave us a comment on any of our social media pages. or you can send us an email at distortedopinionshow@gmail.com, and we'll respond to any of those methods. So, lots of ways to get a hold of us, but
just
definitely
do it, guys.
Yeah.
It's free.
What are you waiting for?
Come on.
What are you waiting for? So on that note, thank you for tuning in with us this week, and we look forward to bringing you a new episode next week. We'll see you then.
Oh, bye.